Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. We're also live on YouTube and on Facebook, and it is our monthly connection with our friends from Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance. Today, we do have Sadie Prescott, Emily Williams. We're talking life insurance, Medicare. Ladies, good to see you. Thanks so much.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you all?
Doing good. Keeping busy. Trying to keep busy.
We were doing, right before we went on air, we were kind of getting a lay of the land of the latest news. And there was some news about some extensions, on what was it, Penny, or, what was it, Governor Shapiro extended? Well, I know he extended LIHEAP, which is not something that you guys deal with. But
Please no.
you never know when they're going to change dates, right?
Absolutely. Always keep an eye on what your open enrollment period is and just the updates that they're sending throughout. There aren't any current open enrollment periods with Penny, but that does not mean that you are not eligible for Penny.
If you had a life change, right?
Exactly. Look at you remembering this.
I'm learning.
No, yeah, that birth, death, divorce, marriage, attaining age of 26, all reasons that you could be eligible to change or get on Penny.
Does that also go for if you have employer insurance?
Absolutely.
That if, let's say, you turn 26...
Yes.
Yep. Talk about that. I mean, people need to be kind of aware of these dates, right?
So if this exact same idea, if you work for somebody and you get your insurance through them, it is called a special enrollment period or a life event. And those life events open back up your health care coverage, so you can go back in and make changes, and that it also counts for your supplementals, so your regular health insurance, but then also any supplementals, anything that they offer you through insurances is what you can use that for.
You want to make sure to pay attention to that, because if you're a parent covering your children and it's maybe your youngest child that turned 26, because usually there's not a difference between one kid or 10 kids. Right. But your youngest turning 26, why would you want to continue to pay for a two-parent family when your children are not coverable? Why not change that to husband and spouse or wife and spouse, whatever it may be, and cut your cost hopefully in half, not usually in half anymore, but bring it down certainly. Yeah,
absolutely. But the thing that never ends is that rolling into Medicare, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think every time you guys are on, we need to talk about this, is that
Absolutely.
That 3 months before, 3 months after your 65th birthday, right?
Turning 65.
Look
yep.
at you. You got
you
it all
are.
down. I love that.
But it's astounding the amount of marketing that is happening for these 64-and-a-half-year-olds.
Yes. Yes.
You see most of it at open enrollment time, but even now you still see a little bit here and there on the television and different billboards and things. But yes,
and I'm sure those folks are getting lots of mailers.
Yes, there's always
from each carrier.
When you're that 3 months beforehand, even a year beforehand, we try to reach out to our customers to let them know, first off, happy birthday, and it starts at 64, trying to just say, okay, this is what you need to start planning for. No, you don't need to do it today, but let's plant the seed of what you need to start doing. What is it that you make your phone calls, log into different sites, into Social Security, make sure you have that stuff set up, because we can't do that for you. We can help and guide you, but that's not something that we do in office. And then we turn around, once they come to us at that time, we can start that ball rolling. But having that 3 months beforehand is a nice buffer to be able to do that with.
Talk about, like, today's tax day. Okay, it's the 15th. there are plenty of procrastinators that are working on their taxes today. Okay, not going to say anybody names.
Let's not point fingers.
We're not pointing any fingers. Anyway, the same thing I would think would go with any kind of deadline, like this deadline to apply for Medicare. You're putting it off, you get busy, you might be in a denial that you turned 65, and here it is, your birthday month, the next month. When do you get in trouble with that?
After that last 3 months after your birthday, 3 months after your birthday. That's not to say that's only if you don't have credible coverage. So if you are still working and you have coverage through your employer, You will not be penalized for not picking up your A and B at that time. You can delay it and pick it up 2 years down the line, 10 years down the line, whenever you decide you'd like to retire.
But you need to apply, right? I thought there's a penalty if you don't apply. Even if you don't have
tell
insurance.
them that you are still working and have credible coverage, yes.
Okay.
They could, because I like to joke, we're dealing with the federal government. So we start ahead just so when there are hiccups, we have plenty of time to smooth it all back out and continue forward without having to race. That's what I like to do. We start a year in advance, hopefully educate you, getting you logged into the SSA.gov, which is where you can select your A and B coverage and when you'd like to start them, whether it be your birth month, the first day of that month, whether it be the following, or whether it be 2 years down the line and you just like to delay it at this point.
Okay.
The key thing is you need to have credible coverage. So Penny will not continue after 65 for you. They kind of kick you off and make you go to Medicare. So then you would lose your credible coverage and need Medicare. Or if you're currently retired, have Cobra, Penny, or anything else, you got to talk about Medicare on your birthday.
Are you hearing that some folks with employer-provided health care are getting kicked off and they say, well, or no, not necessarily?
You cannot do that.
They're not? Okay.
Nope, that is ageism. You cannot kick somebody off due to their age for employer coverage. That is a conversation between them, their employer, and the Medicare to see which is the best avenue for them. You can still be working and get on Medicare. It depends on what makes sense for you health-wise. No different than when you are looking at your employer plans and maybe you have two options. We bring out those two options and add Medicare to it and see, okay, do we like these copays? Which deductible's better? Which has better coverage that matters to you, like dental, hearing, vision? All that stuff. That's why it's important to talk to a Medicare agent, because we try to look whole picture for you.
Yeah, again, y'all have taught us about the real choice part of this is what you want to add to Part A and Part B, right?
Correct.
What do they call it? Medicare Advantage or
Part C or Advantage, they are the same. And then there is Medigap or Supplement.
Okay.
They love to throw all the names in there.
Yeah.
So that was Part C and Advantage are the same.
And
So
what is that essentially?
That most commonly resembles or most closely resembles employer coverage. There's not typically a deductible. There are some copays, not generally to go see your primary care, but to see a specialist. There would be copays for being admitted to the hospital, your lab test and diagnostic, x-rays. It closely resembles your employer coverage. Does come with prescription dental vision included in it and hearing. The opposite side of that is Medigap or Supplement. That is where your network doesn't matter. You should be able to see any doctor in the country, technically. It does not have a ton of deductibles in it, or it has a deductible very low, $283, I believe it is this year for Part B. But then you don't see copays a lot in it. There can be some, but nothing compared to the Advantage side of it. That does not come with prescription dental, hearing, or vision coverage. You have to pick up your prescription coverage extra. You do not have to pick up the dental, hearing, vision if you do not want to.
So what about the D, Part D? Isn't that the drug coverage?
That is the drug coverage. Part D comes into play with the Medigap and the Supplement side.
Okay, gotcha.
Where I said you have to have prescription coverage.
Right. You have to have the coverage. Okay.
Absolutely.
What are some of the stories you guys are hearing about, though, as people are, because I would think that many that are just entering into their Medicare age want a lot. They want to duplicate a lot of what they had from their employer, right? Or not necessarily.
Not necessarily. I think people have come into it kind of open-minded because they have no idea what they're getting into.
I think that's a big part of it. One of the big things I would say on it is that yes, people wait because they're nervous or they don't know what they're getting into. And as you can see by her answers, and as I sit here in awe of my own daughter, for her answers on this, because this is her specialty and what she does every day, is that, make sure that you're going to somebody that can answer the questions and ask
or find
questions.
the answers.
Find the answers. If we don't know, that's one of the biggest things that we do is say, okay, let's research this together. Let me make some phone calls. And literally there's been for starting out and doing this for the last, few years, it has been a lot of research to make sure that we're offering the correct plans, making sure that we have the answers for people, because dental vision, which she just said with certain plans, doesn't come with it. And that's a big thing.
Sure.
We tell people now, hey, if you're working and you have dental vision coverage, that's decent through your work, make sure you're going to the dentist. Make sure you're getting your teeth, the things that you need done, because once you get to that age, it's not something that automatically comes with it. And sometimes if you have to have work done, you have to wait those waiting periods, which can be a year, some even longer. And some people need things done yesterday, and it doesn't always work.
We're talking to Sadie and Emily here from Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance. I want to pivot for a second here, because one of the things that folks are encountering is, what should I do about life insurance as I enter into those older age groups? What are some of your thoughts about life insurance?
Well, it's not even necessarily the older age groups.
Okay.
I would say it's just about protecting those you care about and love. So I have life insurance because my mother co-signed my student loans. If something were to happen to me, I'd hate for her to be responsible for my student loans. And so
are you saying some of your peers don't have life insurance?
I would say life insurance is not talked about enough with the younger generations. I'm 30 and under. Our life insurance, if you can get it now, is the cheapest it'll ever be for you.
Exactly.
So get it before 30, and then hopefully you never have to make any changes in your life for it, because eventually my student loans will be gone. Yeah. So then I have life insurance for just having life insurance, some other purpose. I also have a house. I don't have a spouse, though. So it's just me protecting my dog at that point. Right. But all other reasons to get life insurance.
Okay, at 30 years old, what kind of life insurance do you buy?
I would buy whole life.
You're going to buy whole life.
Why not?
Which is totally different than what I had heard about.
No, I'm going to buy whole life because, it's, like I just said, it's going to be the cheapest it's going to be for my entire life at the age I am now. I purchased it at 25, though. And then as long as you pay the premiums, it stays the same, doesn't change. Know your plan, because not everything is created equally.
Yeah.
So know what you are comparing to. But as long as I know if I don't make any changes to my plan, I can borrow against it if I need to, build cash value with it. But I'll have that for my entire life, basically, as long as I'm paying the premiums.
Yeah, I always hear, wondering about the life insurance thing. Is it an investment? Is it protection?
Bit of both.
Jewel, I will say that, Emily's on one side of the spectrum and I'm on the other.
Right.
And I'm going to group you with me on that one.
Okay, yeah.
And you and I would probably looking, possibly a smaller whole life for final expenses, or you can do a final expense plan. It depends. There's different.
So when you're talking about final expenses, you're talking about funeral arrangements.
There's specialty
because you're not in that place of needing to replace income, like with your spouse, generally speaking.
So there's multiple ways of looking at it. So when we talk about it, and I have clients in front of me, there's multiple, again, ages. That's a big thing. So somebody that is Emily's age, a whole life policy, and younger, whole life policies are relatively reasonable. Term policies, which can be 10, 20, 30-year policies, so think term, a set amount of time, in that I talk to people about that. So if we're going to marry Emily off here. So Emily now has a spouse and has children. I would hope that Emily's spouse would have a policy. So if something was to happen to her spouse, that it would help protect her and her children, and then it would go on. So a term policy can cover you for 30 years. So think of your home mortgage, 30-year mortgage, 30-year term policy, kind of fits nicely together. And that's the way that I present it to people, is because you want to make sure that your spouse, all of a sudden they're going to lose somebody that they absolutely adore. Yeah. And now they're trying to figure life out without that person. And now we have to figure out financial stuff on top of it. And oh my gosh, I don't know if I can live here. I don't know what I'm going to do. The kids go to a private school, or are we going to have to move? Or am I moving back home with my mom? What are we doing? So if you can take a little bit of that burden off, you can get through the funeral, because then you have life insurance coming in and things can be paid for that way in case you don't have enough in savings and things like that. Then we turn around and go, okay, that term policy is enough to maybe pay off the house, maybe keep them going for a little bit of time till they can make that decision and they have a little bit more sound judgment to go, okay, I got this. We're going to move to a smaller home. We're going to do this. We got it all figured out. So a term policy works great for that. Whole life policy, we all would love to leave $1 million to our family members. I mean, who wouldn't like to be able to, as we pass? Probably not going to happen. But for those of us that, can do a little bit, your final expenses and maybe leave a little bit behind, $20,000, $30,000. Right now, I think on average, they're saying it costs about $12,000 for a funeral and for your final expense, things depending upon what you do. So if you do a $20,000 policy, it's not too bad. It goes off of your age. So it's something that you want to consider sooner than later.
And whether you're a smoker or not. So it's a very good reason to stop smoking.
Yeah,
as I put that one in there for everybody.
And the big thing, Emily touched on it, is comparing apples to apples. So know what if somebody is presenting you a policy, whether you come to Hilling-Pfeffer and you want to talk to us about it, or if you've gotten a quote from somebody else, or you're looking at your policy that you currently have and go, well, wait a minute, this says that my pricing is going to start going up when I turn 40, or, and then it jumps again when I turn 50, or it jumps when I turn 60. I have a friend who showed me their policy. It's a $500,000 policy. At age 20, they were paying like $25 a month for her and her spouse. Great. I mean, that's amazing. When they turned 40, it jumped into the hundreds. By the time they're 70, it's in the thousands.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Great when you're 20, and I guess as a 20-year-old, you're not thinking about when you're in your 40s, 50s,
or didn't
60s,
know
70s.
To look at that.
But when I first started out in insurance, that was one of the first policies I looked at, and I was like, oh, this is, so know what you're comparing to. Mm-hmm. There is companies that do that, and that's great for some people because that's what they want. And just know what you're looking at and ask all the questions that you possibly can think of, and ask, is this going to stay the same price forever? Is there changes? What does it cost if I change something? If I do something differently?
Can I add to it later on?
Yeah.
Is it post? Is it pre-tax?
Yeah. Depending upon what you're doing.
Yeah. Talk about, and again, this is not to downgrade anybody else, but talk about the difference of, let's say, buying the life insurance from a life insurance agency vis-a-vis, I'm going to buy, a plan, from a funeral home, or I'm going to buy a plan from the mortgage company. I mean, there's qualitative difference, is there not?
Absolutely.
Like, you buying insurance to pay your mortgage off, you can do that with life insurance. It's probably going to be cheaper from the mortgage broker. Not the mortgage broker, but the life insurance people.
That's why you want to make sure and compare what they're offering you, and ask or tell them that you would like to be able to get other quotes.
Yeah. Heck, I found that with just buying a new car. Like, 3 people wanted to sell me gap insurance, in case I go, underwater, and the best deal was with my insurance carrier.
Correct. There's a lot of different things out there, a lot of places, and I never knew about the mortgage one until years ago with my own mother. She told me that the mortgage company had her put it with my stepdad because they were older. So if anything happened, it would be paid for. Okay, yeah. That's great for my mom if something was to happen, because it would be then in turn paid for. But let's make sure that you're asking those questions and then get a quote from your insurance agent and anyone else that you'd like to, and have them explain it to you, and then take the printout when you leave, and so you have a hard copy of what they're offering you, and then you can kind of compare. And that's one thing that we do, is if somebody would like to compare things, that's what we do every single day. And we try to offer a variety, because there's some that want A over on the left-hand side, or they might want C that's way over on the right side. It just depends on what you're looking for, and asking as many questions as you can when it comes to this stuff, because it is so important. You want to make sure that you have the coverage. Don't assume anything, because that gets us all in trouble.
So the idea, if folks called you at Hilling-Pfeffer, you're going to lay out the options and lay out what each types of life insurance would do.
Absolutely. And there's a few different things that that we do on our side at the health division, and that Alan and Chris, who you guys have had on before, they work with Erie Insurance and do things over there. There's multiple. And there's multiple carriers.
Life insurance is endless.
Yes, yeah. There is a lot of it all over the place, and there's some great ones, and then there's some other ones that we'd probably have you steer away from.
Okay.
But again, it's asking the questions, knowing in general what you would like. We started off with the basics, and a question I ask people, and it's not to be insulting, but you know the difference between whole life and term.
Right.
And I would say over 50% of the people, they don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I and it's
remember a word called universal life and all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're out of time. Let's get folks connected to how they can get more information from y'all.
Our phone number is 814-455-7611. Finally got that memorized for us.
There's terrific. Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance. Sadie, Emily, thank you, ladies, so much. Appreciate it.
Pleasure as always.